All right, it's your main man, Professor J. Pillar Bay. We're in 2026, it's Capricorn season. We're going to go to this book called Race Life of the Aryan People by this European by the name of Joseph P. Widney. Okay, look him up. And he doesn't really care for so-called black people, but we're going to read his book where he says, what he says. He says, I'm going to the Negroid. It says, the lowest among the very types of man are the so-called Negroid races. Man sometimes speak of the black race of the earth as races yet in their infancy, with their race flowering still before them. But history shows instead that they are, on the contrary, races that are retreating and retrograding. They once occupied a much wider territory and wielded a vastly greater influence upon the earth than they do now. They are now found chiefly in Africa, yet traces of them are to be found through the islands of Malaysia. Remnants, no doubt, their more numerous black population, which seems to have occupied tropical Asia before the days of the Semite, even though black people are the Semites, right? And Mongols and the Brahmanic Aryan. Back in the centuries, which are scarcely historic, where history gives, where history gives, indeed, only vague hintings are traces of a widespread primitive civilization, crude, imperfect, garish, barbaric, yet ruling the world of that age from its seat of power in the valley of the Ganges, the Euphrates, and the Nile. It was of the black races. The first Babylon seems to have been built by a Negro race. The earliest Egyptian civilization seems to have been Negroid. It was in these days before the Semite was known in either land. The black seems to have built up empire such as it was by the waters of the Ganges before Mongol and Aryan. There are upon the highlands of Africa and of a type far in advance of anything the present can show in that land. Yet all these have passed away. And now for ages, not even the faintest sign of a renaissance has ever come to the race. On the contrary, history is one of a ever-progressing descendants. The black man does not live in the past, for he has forgotten that he has ever had a past. To him, it is a blank, except as he learns of it through others. And the possibilities of that past seem for him to be utterly and hopelessly buried. The ages come and go, but they bring to him no second attempt at a race flowering. He's hating, right? Even the germ seems to be a lifeless beyond recall. Instead is the unbroken darkness of a rayless barbarism. The man lives on, the race is dead. This man who was master is become the hero of wood and drawer of water for others. It is a picture of a race in which not only hope, but even desire for better things seems to have died out. As Ashtar content with his lot, he unmurmuringly bows his shoulder to the burden and becomes a servant unto the tribute. It is sometimes claimed that the black man is equal in the possibilities of white. Now, hold on. Right? We still read that he says, what is the ultimate fate of the Negroid, right? He said the completion of the answer is probably found in the fate which befell the Negroid in the valleys of the Euphrates, the Ganges, the Nile, where he did his work, lived out his life, and died. The parallel is to be seen in the Carib of the West Indies, black people, the mound benders, black people, the red man of North America, who was really a so-called black man, right? The Maori of New Zealand, black folks, the Bushmen of Australia, black folks, the Anu of Japan, black folks, and the Negrito of the Philippines, black folks, right? So he playing with words where you can see, but let's decipher some of this. So that's a scar right here, the Negroid. He said the lowest among the very types of man are the so-called black people, the Negroid races. Man speak of us, black races of the earth, as races in our infancy. So he's like, people, they so lost, they thought that we were, when they was able to enslave us, that we were babies, infancy with our race, that we had a lot of growing to do, right? But on the contrary, races that are retreating and retrograding. What do you mean? No, we are old race. And he's saying, oh, it's like we're retreating and we're retrograding, which means what, we're falling off, we're going backwards a little bit, right? He says some of us, we once occupied wider territory and wielded a vastly greater influence upon the earth than we do now, right? Than we do now. They are found chiefly in Africa, yet traces of them are to be found through the islands of Malaysia, the Pacific, right? Remnants, no doubt, that more numerous black population seems to have been occupied the tropical Asia before the days of the Semite. So the Semite is also black, but look, it also shows you what the black population was in Asia. Now, anybody tell you that in school? Huh? They talking about China and all that. They're not telling that you was there already. Back in the centuries which are scarcely historic, where history gives indeed only vague hintings, are traces of a widespread, he trying to say primitive, civilization, crude, imperfect, garish, and barbaric. So he's just hating, right? Yet ruling the world. So you hear he's saying the black people were ruling the world of their age from our seat of power in the valley of the Ganges, which is what? India, the Euphrates. Huh? Go to those there, and the Nile, which is in Kemet and in America, right? And it was of the black races. So let's read that again. Back in the centuries, there are scarcely historic where history gives indeed only vague hintings are traces of a widespread primitive civilization, yet ruling the world of their age from our seat of power in the valley of the Ganges, Euphrates, and the Nile, and it was of the black races. Doesn't that sound familiar? The first Babylonians seem to have been what? Built by a Negro, a black race. The earliest Egyptian civilization seems to have been what? A black race, right? It was in these days before the Semite was known. The Semitic is an African Asiatic language, right? He says the black seems to have built up empire, right? Such as it was by the water of the Ganges before, he says page 238, the Mongol or the Aryan, right? The evidence of such primitive empire, right? So we already had empires, right? He said, upon the highlands of Africa of a type in advance of anything present can show in that land, yet all have passed away. Now for ages, not even the faintest sign of a renaissance has ever come to us, the race. He's talking about us, right? On the contrary, is one the ever progressing decadence. The black man does not even live in the past, for he has forgotten that he ever had a past. So how can we forget? We never forgot. Someone hid the past from us, right? But it's still in our DNA. To him, it is blank, except as he learned it through others. So you get other people giving you your history started with slavery. You forgot you had empires, right? And the possibilities of that past seem for him to be utterly and hopelessly buried. No, when someone's teaching you that stuff is so far ago that you can't attempt it again, they're lying to you, right? And so he said, what? This man who was the man who was master is become the hewer of wood and drawer of water for others. So he acknowledged, hey, black people, you were the masters of the world. You were the masters. But he's saying, oh, but now you don't even want your past. It's not that. It's that when we're going to these European controlled schools, they are hiding this, telling us that our history started with slavery. So we started gang bang and think I got to kill this other black man, not knowing the real fight is to get the empire back, get the diamonds and the gold back, right? Because what? Because back in the centuries where history gives and vague hintings are widespread, yet ruling the world of their age from its seat of power in the valleys of Ganges, Euphrates, and Nile was the black race. So you can see he said we used to rule the world. But we forgot that. We didn't forget. We just got to stop going to European control schools, right? So this your main man, Professor J. Pillar. We read the book. Reading the book by Capricorn, Joseph P. Widney, Race Life of the Aryan People. And you can see he's talking bad about us, but he still has to acknowledge that we ruled the world. We are not a young people. We are ancient people. And when you're not being taught in school that you once ruled the world, your standards are very low. And so it's easy for you to stand on the corner. It's easy for you to be in front of the Arab store. It's easy for you to be running from cops and think that you have nothing because you've been taught you to start with slavery. But it's your main man, Professor J. Pillar Bay, kicking off 2026 with this beautiful quote that you needed to decipher. And let's have fun this year and let's keep growing, all right? Ashe, ashe, I say. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Love y'all. One.